Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers, and it's time for Comics Revisited. Today we're talking about Peter David's Aquaman. That's right everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers, Comics Revisited. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, this is Brooks, the Magnificent. Brooks, thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah, man.
Today we're going to be talking about the Peter David Aquaman run. So we got an Aquaman movie coming out, Brooks.
Really?
Have you heard about that? Yeah, it's a little small independent film. You know, not a lot of press behind it, not a lot of marketing power.
Have the guy from Entourage in it?
I mean, it does not, but it's got
that's good.
the guy who was on Baywatch apparently, and in Game of Thrones apparently. Jason Momoa. Of course, you guys know this. We know this. Jason Momoa is doing an Aquaman movie. We decided that we would go back and check out some of our favorite Aquaman runs. Now, when I was growing up, being a big Aquaman fan, I became an Aquaman fan because of that Superpowers action figure, Brooks. I love that action figure. I love the color combo. When I started reading Aquaman comics, it was Peter David. So definitely wanted to spotlight this. Most people know him as Hook Hand Aquaman, but it's actually like a mechanical harpoon.
Yeah.
He's got the beard. These are the books right here. These are available right now. We're going to throw some links down below so you can check them out. Help support PCP at a great price on Amazon. Aquaman by Peter David, book 1 and 2. This really gets you started, though I will say you definitely want to check out the Atlantis Chronicles by Peter David right before that. So who was Peter David?
He was a writer.
He was a comic book writer. He's really coming up at this moment. He was doing X Factor. He's the guy that did X Factor with Multiple Man and Havoc and Strong Guy. He started his great run on Incredible Hulk. He wrote that book for like 12 years. Yeah. So he comes on to Aquaman, and he basically redefines the character, tries to make it interesting for people. Does he succeed, Brooks?
I think so.
Yeah? What do you like about it?
I like this Aquaman. You know, he's been through some stuff, and a lot of the first volume, like early on, is actually kind of like a retelling his origin, or like, you know, going back. It's like him reminiscing on past events. Because
the book starts with Aquaman Time and Tide. Yeah. So Peter David had done this like maxi series called Atlantis Chronicles, where he redefined the history of Atlantis, and that really sets up a lot of the stuff here. Because what Peter David does is he makes Aquaman a very mythical type character, does he not? Yeah. Like he throws in all these elements from like mythology,
he's fighting
and
like
folklore.
Sea witches and like gods and stuff like that.
Yeah, did you read the introduction in part 1 by Peter David?
I didn't.
He says that he always thought Aquaman should be written like Tarzan underwater.
Yeah.
And you definitely get that vibe out of here. He's a little bit more savage. He's definitely more regal, more brooding. He's got the weight of the world against him. So let's talk about Aquaman real quick. He debuted in 1941 in More Fun Comics number 73. His original origin, a little bit weirder, Brooks. His father was a scientist who was obsessed with Atlantis and did experiments on his son to make him be able to breathe underwater and talk to fish for 1 minute. 1 minute only. He could do those things, right? And then, of course, over time and into the Silver Age, the origin changes. His mother was a princess of Atlantis. She came and fell in love with a lighthouse keeper, Tom Curry. Their son, Arthur Curry, royal, Atlantis royalty, torn between the land and the sea. That's the origin that is set right now. That was the origin for the majority of the character's history. But after Crisis, they completely changed that up. This is the run on Peter David. The one thing I don't really like about Peter David's run, there are a few things that I think are little, but we'll get to those. I don't really like this origin as much. So Arthur's mom was the queen of Atlantis, and she, Arthur's father is this like Atlantis, ancient Atlantis wizard like, named Atlan. Yeah. And like it's really weird. They abandoned him as a baby on Mercy Reef. He was raised by dolphins. This is like the Jungle Book, but underwater, you know?
Yeah, he's like swimming with the dolphins. He's like trying to get this girl dolphin's attention, and like he's like, hey, you can't do that, man.
Like,
what are you doing?
For you. That's a really
funny mom has to be like, yeah, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
One of the fun things I think about Peter David's writing style in comic books, he's a very consistent writer. And one of my favorite things, Brooks, is that he takes things seriously, but he also has this tongue-in-cheekness about it. He has a lot of that in Aquaman. The way he talks to the animals, a lot of it comes across as silly.
Yeah, sharks especially, because like they forget exactly what they thought. Like
yes,
the second.
it's a great little touch, right? The sharks always forget. They never know what's going on. I really like that. So this is the Aquaman that we're dealing with. The origin's way different. You're going to have to deal with that. It starts off with a 4-issue miniseries, Time and Tide, by Peter David, and then it goes into his solo run. And one of the most famous things about this solo run is that he loses his hand. It's his left hand. He loses it. It's this villain named Charybdis. Yeah. And does he take away his power to control the fish?
Yeah, he does. He does.
He somehow takes away the power, absorbs it, throws his hand into this pond or whatever filled with piranha, and they eat. Yeah. Dude, and it's gnarly. Like the image, it's all like mangled and it's like grotesque.
Cool. It's like his bone. It's like his bone hand is there, but like all the meat around it's been eaten off.
Peter David was definitely taking this image that Aquaman had gotten from those 60s cartoons and then the Super Friends cartoons of being kind of this useless, goofy superhero with a useless power, and he wanted to bring him back with a little bit of edge. And that's definitely what he does. Sometimes I think it's a little too edgy. This is a book that came out in the 90s, 1994 to be exact. So it's very 90s. This is like steeped in the middle of just like the 90s extreme. We're losing fans, but we don't care. We're just running with it. Crazy, extravagant artwork with bodies that bend and shift in ways that are not possible. You see that a lot in comic books, and it's fine. You know, it's exaggeration. It's a thing. Some not too cool artwork sometimes when the women are concerned. Wow. It is a little 90s. It's very 90s. But Aquaman is buff. He's savage looking. He's a little crazy there as well.
I'm not really a big fan of the shirtless with a leather strap Aquaman, really.
Yeah.
One shoulder.
He's got that one shoulder armor there.
I was like, why?
Yeah, I thought that actually, even when he's just wearing the old orange and green, it still looks cool. Yeah. It still looks awesome. What did you think? What was your initial reaction, Brooks, back in the day when this Aquaman came out and he was so drastically different? And the first time you saw him with that harpoon hand, first time you saw him with the beard and the long hair, what'd you think?
Well, I remember, like, I didn't follow many DC comics back then. I was pretty, like, when I first started out, I was pretty much like X-Men, sometimes Spider-Man, Fantastic Four. Yeah. But I did read Wizard.
Yes, okay, right.
And so through Wizard, I knew about Aquaman, losing his hand and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I always thought he looked pretty cool, but I never, until, I borrowed it from you, I'd never read any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Actually.
I'm glad you're getting a chance to read it. Of course, I read this when it was first coming out. I loved it. I thought it was so cool. I was like, Aquaman is so awesome, guys. You have no idea. He's got this harpoon hook hand. He's just, like, mean all the time, very brooding. Like, the book starts off Time and Tide, and he's just, like, he's got an aqua cave, right? And he's just, like, chilling in this cave, just, like, being sad all the time, thinking about things. It kind of reminds me of Angel sometimes in the Angel TV series. Yeah. Very, very broody. My reaction then was way different now. Now it seems like this is trying too hard. And I felt that way with Momoa's Aquaman in the Justice League movie. But the first time we ever saw Jason Momoa as Aquaman, that first image, did you not think that's Peter David's Aquaman?
Yeah.
I totally
He definitely
did.
favors the Peter David Aquaman.
Yeah. What about some of the other characters in the run? Some of the other characters that are spotlighted, of course, Mira. Her origin a little bit different. Zebul was not another kingdom in the sea, but another dimension that she was from. He's kind of not with Mira in these books. He's with Dolphin.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what happened, but at some point something happened.
But Peter David apparently just wanted.
But apparently, he had a son too.
Well, he had a son. Aquaman and Mira had a son in the 70s, and in the early 70s, in a really dark storyline, Black Manta kills Aquaman's son. And then there's that bit when Mira does show up early on in the Peter David run. And she's in this netherworld, and their son or a version of their son is there. Yeah. That gets a little confusing for me, does it not? It gets a little jumbled. To be honest, these two books end, like book 2 ends right when the book really was starting to get good. Because let's talk about the character of Dolphin real quick. She was created in the 60s. She was like this young woman who was kidnapped by these aliens, experimented on to be able to live underwater. And then she just kind of was this silly little character in the Silver Age. So Peter David brings her in, and Mira and Aquaman are not cool, especially after all that craziness, losing the baby.
There was
to Black Manta. Unpleasantness was involved. So Dolphin, he comes in, and they kind of have this relationship going on. I don't like Dolphin in this book. the character gets a little bit better because, believe it or not, as this book progresses and as it goes on, Mira comes back. Aquaman and Mira wind back up together. The book really takes, because at the end of this, remember, Poseidonus, the city in Atlantis, had risen, and they're going after the 5 cities in Atlantis, the 5 lost cities.
It's very similar to what's happening right now with Atlantis. Actually,
it kind of is, actually. A lot of what's going on with the Snyder Drowned Earth story, it does feel the same. Atlantis has just risen as well. So that's something that gets done in there. It gets a lot more into the like Game of Thrones, like political machinations behind the scenes, like the weight of the throne. Mira's there. Dolphin, because Garth as Aqualad in here. Let's talk about Aqualad real quick. Aqualad is terrible in this book. He's so goofy, so lame, so just dumb, right? But I remember, because he becomes Tempest, and we haven't really quite gotten that part yet. He goes off, he learns all this awesome magic, he comes back as Tempest, and then Dolphin and him fall in love. And so they wind up together later on in the book. The book really does have a good, solid run. I really did like it. What do you think about those other characters? Dolphin, Garth, Aqualad, Tempest, and Mira. What do you think about them in the book?
Oh, Dolphin's alright. I mean, she kind of just like, she got rescued by Aquaman, so then like she's just hanging out with Aquaman. And,
and then they just start kissing.
Yeah, and you know, they kind of eventually get into a romantic thing.
It feels like it feels like the editors and the writer and the team were just like, well, we're going to get them together.
Yeah, like, we need a romance.
But they didn't really think out the romance or have it come out naturally or organically or anything like that.
Yeah, it was kind of just like, she was kind of felt forced in there.
Yeah.
Aqualad does all right, I think.
He's still wearing that goofy costume at first.
He is like the extremely lame kind of teen psychic. Like, hey, I'm going to go over and hang out with the ladies, boss, while you go there and do your king stuff.
Total silly horn dog, too, man. Like, really weird and inappropriate.
But, you know, he picks up steam, too.
What about Mira?
But Mira's my favorite.
Mira's awesome, but I think she's so out of whack in this book.
It's like she's got so much baggage on her in this.
Yeah.
It's like...
They got the death of the baby that they're dealing with, the fact that they're not together. The Dolphin's there, and they have this very soap opera issue where like they're like, you know, it's like she catches
underwater cat fight.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so silly sometimes, man. It's got all that extremeness of the '90s. I definitely don't think it aged as well as some other comic books from the '90s have. Some really good, respectful work. But it's still very fun. I still think it's a really cool take on the character. They reversed it, and what's crazy is, like you're saying, you know, Aquaman's been clean cut again for a long time. Yeah. And now they're getting back into, because Momoa is playing him in the movie.
It's like Aquaman's getting like longer hair, and
he's starting to look more like Brooks.
Yeah, and Thor is getting like shorter hair.
Like, I look more like Thor now. He looks more like Aquaman.
Shave Aquaman again and give me long-haired Thor back.
Yeah, you want that long-haired Thor, hippie Thor. Thor with long hair. Would Thor have a man bun? I'd be cool with that. I think I'd be cool with that. I know a lot of people wouldn't be, but I'd be cool with that. I really, you know, I mean,
this is just like if he just did it like just to like, you know, see if people would say something.
Yeah, right.
Like he just walks up to.
Nobody's gonna say anything to Thor.
How's it going, Steve?
Nobody's gonna come up to Thor and be like, "Oh, nice man bun." Like nobody's gonna go up to Jason Momoa when he's playing Aquaman and be like, "You have nice water aqua bun, nice aqua bun."
Hulk might.
Yeah, you're right about that one. We are talking about Thor, but I will say this: Thor's haircut at the end of Ragnarok. I love that.
Yeah, I did like it.
I almost want to get it.
I'm ready for it to be over and him to be back.
I almost want to get that haircut though, and be like, I even want the like. Yeah, man. That's character. That's style. Aquaman should do something like that. They should Momoa do that. Yeah, Momoa's got that cool eyebrow thing. Yeah. Oh man, I'm really pumped for this movie. You pumped for this movie?
Yeah.
You think they're going to take a lot of stuff from this Peter David run?
Probably.
I think they'll take more.
I imagine they'll use a lot of it.
I think they'll use a lot of Jeff Johns, but the attitude's definitely going to be there. Because Momoa playing Aquaman, he's definitely going to be playing that Peter Davidian.
Yeah.
What?
He's going to be like reluctant King Aquaman.
Yes, and and that's kind of what he is. But like I said, the book continues on after this. This book ran for 75 issues. This volume of Aquaman. Peter David was on it for like 46 of those issues. He had a 4-year run, very solid. I think the last half of it's way better than the first half. It starts off a little wonky, a little uneven. What do you think about the artwork? We got Martin England, right? And we got Jim Calafiore. So Egelin is the first one that you see, right? Mm-hmm. So he's the one that does that. And then Calafiore is the guy that has the more angular style that comes on later on, that guy. I really like his angular style. When I was a kid, I hated it. I thought there was something wonky about his Aquaman, his layouts. No, I love this stuff. I think it's beautiful. I think it's my favorite art from this run. And this is also where Garth is starting to get a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
Just a little bit cooler. What do you think about the artwork overall? I mean, it's obviously 90s.
It was good. It was very typical, you know.
Yeah.
The style, you could tell it was 90s style artwork. But I thought it was really good. I didn't have any complaints. So,
would you recommend this book? Like, if someone says they want to read some Aquaman, get ready for this movie, is this a book you would recommend?
Yeah, I would say so.
I would recommend it, but with a little bit of, like, be wary, because of the origin from the movie, I think they're going to use a lot from Jeff Johns' stuff.
They'll probably make it more like New 52.
Yeah, and we'll be talking about New 52 Aquaman next week, and that's going to be Jeff Johns, the Jeff Johns, Ivan Reis, really cool run. That's what we'll be talking about next week on Comics Revisited. So thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Me and Brooks recommend this book. We think it's cool. Peter David's Aquaman, a really good run, a very monumental run for the character in his already esteemed and rich history. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. What do you think about Peter David's Aquaman? Let us know in the comments down below. And like I said, be here next week for Jeff Johns' Aquaman. Me and Brooks will be talking about that one here on Comics Revisited on Pop Culture Philosophers. Thank you guys so much once again. I keep thanking these people so much. Thank you. Thank you. Be sure to check us out at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. Please do like, share, and subscribe. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups, and this has been
Brooks
the Magnificent. Thanks for joining the PCP Army. You dig? Umbrellas.
I always forget that.
I almost forgot.
It has to be plural, right?
Yeah. Because we have two in front of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
Yeah,
Just looked at those
up.
those look like umbrellas.
Umbrellas. Yeah. I could have looked at anything else. It could have been keyboard.
Swords.
Yeah. Star Trek novels. Good. That was a good video.
Yeah, man.